Hello everyone, welcome back, and I'm here to be ranking my favorite video game series of all time, the Uncharted series, from worst to first. Now the reason why I am doing this is I've been thinking of a reason to talk about this series or give my thoughts on it for a while, because not only is it such a big inspiration to me and all, it's really one of my favorite IPs, like franchises ever, including movies and shows and etc. It's up there with Marvel for me. That's how much I love it. And with today, I saw on Twitter, Naughty Dog posted that it's the 10th anniversary of Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, which I'll get into when I rank them, but is a great game. So I just thought I would give a nice video ranking my favorites from worst to first in this series. Now, pretty much it's going to be pretty funny going down the list, but I'll just start off. Now, before I get into it though, I just want to say the only game that won't be on here is Uncharted Golden Abyss, which I believe either released exclusively on PSP or PS Vita or one of those, but I didn't have a device like that. I only had the PlayStation 3 and 4. I can't re-rate Golden Abyss, unfortunately, but I heard it was really fun, a nice little adventure, so I can't really give my thoughts on that one. But anyways, number 5, the worst one in the whole series, and even by then, it's not that bad. It's okay. The worst, like the least one, is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Why would you look at that? The one without the main character is the least good one in my opinion, huh? But no, seriously, what made this game the worst for me on this series is that, like, it's I've never had an Uncharted game that made me not care, that made me zone out. Like, literally, I got to chapter 4, I was done playing for 10 months, and then I eventually went back and finished it because it was so boring and I just could not do it. And the open world thing was not as effective and fun as it was in Uncharted 4. And the characters I didn't really care that much about, like the villains and all. I didn't really, like, it was a really short game. I know it's like a DLC, but they charge like 40, $50 for it. So I'm counting it as a full game. And for full game standards, it was pretty poor. The only good parts was some of the dialogue between Chloe and Nadine. I like that they gave Nadine more development, and since she actually survived at the end of the 4th game, which is a first for villains of the series. You got to learn more about Chloe. There's some nice little cameos, like from Sam, Nathan's brother. Stuff like that's pretty neat, but it was pretty generic and by the books, and it did nothing special for me. All right, on to number 4, and that is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. You see why I said this would be funny going down the list? But no, it's like after this one game that came out, which I'll talk about, it just kept getting least and least good. But Uncharted 4, this was the most hype I have ever been for a for like anything. Like it's even more than Infinity War and Endgame for me, I think. Like Uncharted 4, I was so hyped for. I was so excited because I thought the third one, it was over. But when I heard they were making a 4th one, it got delayed like 5 times. I even got the collector's edition with the statue over here. I mean, I'm not even gonna move it because I don't want it to like drop or anything. But it was so, yes, I was like, let's do this. I was so hyped. I got the best edition, and I was like, let's go. And then I play it, and for the first couple chapters, I'm so hyped. But then the story just started to drag in some sections, which I was like, okay. The villain was really good. I really liked the villain. They added some new mechanics that were interesting, like roaming around the actual map, driving, going on a boat with a grappling hook, like a rope to swing around like in Indiana Jones. Stuff like that was pretty great. But the thing that makes this, like, while the story I thought was pretty solid and the conclusion was meh, like it could have been better for me for the end of Nathan's story, what made it really get me mad was the multiplayer. Now, the multiplayer was one of the worst, most disappointing multiplayers I've ever played. It's bad when at launch they didn't even have a leveling system, which made it pointless to play. And there was only 5 maps or 6 maps, I think, at launch, when Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 2 had at least 10, 15, 20 maps. And that's not even counting like when they add expansions later on. It was just ridiculous. They had this roadmap about stuff they were going to add. They threw that out the window because they didn't add anything. They only added the co-op later on. It was so egregious, and it was really poor how they handled it. And they've only added like 1 or 2 maps since, so probably 6 maps or 7 maps in all. Really unfortunate. That was a deal breaker for me because I was so excited to play Uncharted on the PS4 with my friends, but that never happened because no one wanted to play it because the multiplayer was awful. And then once you beat the campaign a couple times, like I played through the campaign, I believe, what, 6 times? Which I know sounds like a lot, but it's the least amount compared to the other Uncharted. I played through those like 20, 30 times. That's how much I love this series. So this game was really disappointing. It did not live up to the hype I had, and it did not live up to standards. And it gets me annoyed when everyone's saying, best in the series, masterpiece, greatest game this gen. No, it's not. It's really not. It was such a disappointment for me. I've never felt this disappointed for a property before. I mean, I have since, but never to this scale. But it's still a well-made game. It's really nice to see the characters back again for one last adventure, but it could have been a lot better. Another thing I did not like is how it marketed like a Thieves' Den. It's all depressing, who's gonna die, and then nothing happens. It's just nothing happens. And it gets me so annoyed because they lied to me in the marketing. They lied to us in the marketing, basically, hyping it up, and then nothing happens. All right, on to number 3. And that is, of course, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Yep, it's basically it just went downhill after the first 2. But they're all still like really nice, well done games. Uncharted 3, though, the story makes no sense. It's all just action set pieces, which are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of memes from this, so many iconic moments. It's really great, and this was the better ending than Uncharted 4 for Nate's story. I thought it was fantastic. But the thing that made this better, because while the story in Uncharted 4 is so much better, the multiplayer in Uncharted 3 is the best multiplayer ever created. I know it's my opinion, but it's fantastic. The maps like London Underground, Desert Village, Yemen, fantastic maps. The co-op was amazing. Shade survival with the skeletons on fire. You could play with friends. You got private matches. We would play this thing, Michael Myers, where someone would be the killer, chasing you around, one-hitting them. So much fun. T-bolt battles, melee battles. It was a blast. Playing all these modes was so fun. And it breaks my heart that they canceled the multiplayers last month in September. Like, they cut the cord on PS3 for Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, and Last of Us. So that was a real tragedy. It was such a shame. I loved that multiplayer so much. It was some of the most fun I've ever had on PlayStation 3. And they never, with the Nathan Drake collection, they never remastered it. So the multiplayer dies out with PS3, which is such a tragedy. But it also introduced some really fan favorite characters like Charlie Cutter, Salim. The villains I didn't really care about. Ramses was just there. Marlo, they add some backstory with her for Sully, so that was pretty great. This was more of like a Sully based game with Nate, which I really liked because in the first game he's kind of gone halfway through and then he comes back near the end. Second game he flat out leaves. So it's nice to have that they had this game for the two of them to connect and stuff. I really like that. And I really like the overall message. Like, is it too far to keep going for this? Like, is it even worth it for the treasure and stuff? Like, Nate's obsessed with this. I really liked how they delved into that. So this was like a really, really good game. The story was kind of stupid, but it's still, I love it anyways. The multiplayer is fantastic, and it's really great. Now here's where the trend will break, guys. Number 2 is Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. Yes, the one that started it all, the masterpiece of gaming that saved PlayStation 3. Because when PlayStation 3 launched, it was like $600. No one got it. The only game was a crab game. I don't even know. Yeah, so it was a mess, that E3 launch. And Uncharted, literally, like 2007 was a great year. You had Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. You had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which is said to be the best in the series by many. You had the first Assassin's Creed. You just had a bunch of really well done games. And Drake's Fortune was so like original at its time. It was a third-person shooter. It had a great narrative story. It's really cinematic in that way, where you could see this on the movie screen and you would be like, yes. It was just so well done. It was so fun, memorable lines, great set pieces, nice cutscenes, really well developed characters, and a nice little treasure mystery adventure. It was just such a fun blast. This one didn't have a multiplayer though, so like once you played it a couple times, you were kind of done with it. But I was really hyped. I was like really down with this game. I really loved it. Which of course leaves one more game, guys. Number one, of course, is Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. Now this is not only the best game in the series, but it is my all-time favorite game currently. I highly doubt it's ever going to get topped, but this game, everything it did, like did so much better than the first one. And the first one's great, but it did so much better. We're getting into like fantasticness level. It was so excellent. Just how it starts out, like what makes it brilliant is it starts out with him, like as you see, like hanging off the train, and you don't understand like, well, how did he get here? What happened? It gets you immediately hooked. You play the first quarter basically from a flashback standpoint, and then even that one mission that you did at the beginning, it does it in a different angle, so it's unique. So genius. The writing is excellent. The villains are, while not as well developed per se, they're terrifying and they menacing. Like, they're really well done villains. Lazarevich, Harry Flynn's kind of an idiot, but he's funny. And even Lieutenant Draza, he doesn't really do anything. He still has a pretty cool boss fight you fight him in. The ending is great. It's excellent music. Like, the music in this series, like Nate's theme from all the series, is fantastic. Even the one by Henry Jackman in the fourth game, so good. The scores in this series is fantastic. For its time, 2009, 2007, stuff like that. Just how the game is, it's just mind blowing how they were able to create a game like this. It's so well done, so nice. And it was like a stepping stone for them to finally get to where they are currently with The Last of Us and how they're breaking new grounds with technology and stuff in the gaming industry. It's so impressive for Naughty Dog. And this game was a big factor into that. This was like when they really stepped up their game with the storytelling, the really well done characters, combat system. Even the multiplayer was kind of like slapped on at the last minute, I heard, but it was still well done. You had a couple really good maps. You had a lot, like at least 7-8 modes. You could play custom with your friends. Like, it was pretty great. You even had co-ops that told their own stories. It was lots of customizations, not loot boxes. Like, you could actually earn these in game. Like, stuff like that made it so much fun to keep coming back to. And you even had people playing this game to this day before the cord got cut for the multiplayer servers. But people were dedicated a decade later. That's a testament to this series and to this game in particular. And it was just a blast. Like, this series, I love it so much. This is why Uncharted 2 is the best game ever created. So I fanboyed out a lot there, guys. But have any of you ever played the Uncharted series? Please let me know down below in the comment section. And what is your ranking? If you want to let me know, that would be pretty great. But if you want to hit the subscribe button, that would be pretty nice. Hit the bell as well to get notified when I upload. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's SawyerSable or @SableSawyer. Again, thank you all so much for watching this ranking video, and I will see you later. Bye.